It's Wednesday, July 28th here at the West End Gun Club. Been here for almost 2 hours and really haven't got any shooting done because I've been laying out all the stages for the August 2021 NRL22 Course of Fire. And if you've never seen my range vlogs before, I always come out a couple weeks or a few weeks prior to the NRL22 match because as the match director, I have to have all the stuff ready and I set up for the match or whatever. But I always set up or I prep for how the stages are going to be laid out on our range because our range is not very flat. So we have a lot of weird things going on at the rimfire range as far as where I can put certain distance targets. And so I have to I have to figure out how to rearrange or arrange the stages to be in line with the layout of our this specific part of the range facility. So it does take me a while. So I always do it beforehand, before match day. So I'm not spending 2 hours on match day morning trying to figure out the layouts. And usually when I take care of these things beforehand, I also find little nuances. For example, if there's a certain angle, like a target's not going to be visible from prone, it's better to find out a couple weeks prior to match day than the day of the match, because then we have to call ceasefire and then we all have to walk out there and rearrange the targets. So, I have to take the extra time so that the matches run smoothly on match day. Anyway, I also had fired a few rounds to this gun. I actually cleaned it, or I actually brushed the barrel because I haven't brushed this barrel ever since I've owned it. With a nylon brush, I didn't use a brass bristle or a bronze brass bristle brush. So it did take about 40 rounds for this thing to kind of settle in after it, because with a brush cleaning, so it's actually nice and tight again. I was having a conversation with one of the participants of our match. He's a regular, and he was telling me about how he used the bore scope and found the carbon ring in his chamber. And you know what? I'm so afraid to use bore scopes because I don't want to see inside the barrel and like get all freaked out when I see if I see pitting or anything like that. So I prefer not to use the bore scope, but I probably should. But I don't know if I have a carbon ring in the chamber, and since I've never brush cleaned this barrel, I went ahead and did that. I always just use patches like every 500 rounds or so, every couple range sessions or a few range sessions. I'll use a Vortec rimfire blend and I'll run that through with patches, and that gets it relatively clean. I mean, from what the other guy was telling me, the barrel in general is pretty much clean all throughout the bore except for that chamber area, and that's what's always getting dirty. So I don't know. Anyway, I brushed it after the last match, and now I ran some rounds through it and got it dirty again, so we're good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and just load some mags up, and then we'll start running through the August 2021 NRL22 Course of Fire. The first stage we're running through is called Target Rich Environment. It's 120-second part time with 12 rounds. So for those of you in 10-round restricted states, magazine restricted states, you're going to have a magazine change. We have 4 targets total. We have a 1.5 inch at 42 yards, a 2 inch at 61 yards, a 2.5 inch at 73 yards, and a 3 inch at 100 yards. 120 points possible, 12 rounds. So you're going to start standing, rifle and all gear in hand, mag in action open. On the start signal, the shooter will take a prone supported position and engage the targets from near to far with 3 shots each, hit or miss, move on. Note, the shooter may only adjust their parallax while on the clock. Adjustments to elevation and windage are not allowed. So basically, you're going to be using your holdovers. Pretty straightforward stage, 4 targets, 3 shots each. Let's run through it and we'll see how it goes. So it's a pretty straightforward stage of fire. 12 rounds, finished with 72 on the clock, 72.36. So the one thing to note here is you're only allowed to adjust your parallax, but they say you cannot touch your elevation or windage, but they don't mention magnification. If you read the note, it says the shooter may only adjust their parallax while on the clock. That's it. Had they not included that second qualifier of elevation and windage, you would assume that you're not allowed to touch your magnification either. But they mention elevation and windage, but they don't mention magnification. So I think this is going to lead to a lot of interpretation across various match directors and matches. If you read the spirit of it, or read it by verbatim, I think you're not allowed to touch your magnification. I had mine like 11. It's right between 10 and 12. So this is a really straightforward stage in my opinion. You just got to know your holdovers. It's really easy, just your parallax and shoot, right? That's why you have mil-dot reticles. But for those people who, like a lot of newer shooters who I see often, they always leave they'll put their magnification in like at some power or whatever, or some setting, and then they're going to be constantly messing with it, trying to find the target. That's what they often do here at our range, because we got dirt berms, it's at an angle, and so they're trying to hunt for it. Instead of properly lining up the rifle to the target before getting into position. I think that's the problem. And so people like who do that, I'm not sure if they're going to get dinged here. So I don't know. Maybe we'll make mention that you can't touch your magnification. We'll just literally say that you can only adjust your parallax, and that's all. But just the case in point, they should, no matter, regardless of the stage, I think it's important for everyone to understand that you shouldn't be messing around with magnification to find your target. I see that often in matches, and people are trying to find the target through their scope instead of, they're way off too. They're like way off, lined up, and they're trying to hunt for it. Then they're still behind the scope trying to find the target when they should just be above their scope, lining up their gun, and then get down in position and they can find the target. So regardless of whatever situation you're in, that's the best way to go. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next stage of fire. The next stage we're running through is called a horizontal fun, 120-second part time. This is a 10-round stage. You only have 3 targets, but they're at one distance. It's the KYL rack. You got the 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1 inch KYLs. You're going to start standing, rifle and all gear in hand, mag in action open. On the start signal, the shooter will take a prone supported position and engage the KYL rack from large to small, hit to advance. If the shooter cleans the KYL rack, then they must remain on the smallest target until shots have been fired or time expired. So basically all you're going to do is just shoot the KYL, hit to advance to the smallest target. Then once you make it to the smallest target, you will remain on the smallest target. Pretty straightforward. Not much to say here. Let's just run through it. And I have 1 round left. The target fell over, but we'll just assume that I made that shot. So I need to figure something out, because where I have to place that KYL target on our range, the berm is causing it to be unstable, and I'm having to use a longer crossbar that's a little bit lightweight. So I need to figure out how to tie that together so it doesn't jump around too much. But that's just a match thing here. We'll figure that out. As far as the stage of fire, it's really pretty straightforward. I mean, all you're doing is shooting a 1 inch, 3/4 inch, and a 1/2 inch repeatedly, just a 1/2 inch at 50 yards. So the only thing is, most people, your KYL at your range is probably going to swing a lot. So you have to like slow down and wait for it to stop. I had 67 seconds on the clock that elapsed, and I still had, and that was 9 rounds. So you can take your time and let the target, come to a stop. Hopefully, I mean, I was able to get my rounds off pretty quickly and get hit. So you should be able to clean this stage, just like the last one. Prone stage is pretty easy to do. So other than the fact that I've got something to deal with by match morning, this stage is not much else to talk about here. So let's go ahead and move on to the next stage of fire. Next stage of fire we're going to run through is called stand and deliver. It's probably the one stage that everyone hates. It's the standing stage. It's 120-second part time, 10 rounds with 3 targets total. You got a 2 inch at 45, a 3 inch at 60, and a 4 inch at 75 yards. You're going to start standing, rifle and all gear in hand, mag in action open. On the start signal, the shooter will take a standing, unsupported position and engage targets in the following manner. Near, 3 shots, middle, 3 shots, and far, 4 shots. So just 3, 3, and 4. It's a really straightforward stage in terms of what you're going to shoot. It's just how you're going to do it. And most people just don't like standing. So all I can tell you there is you need to practice. And I'll admit that I don't practice standing much anymore. That was the only thing I used to practice back in the day when I was a service rifle shooter. 95% of my live fire practice was all standing, because prone and sitting a little bit more involved, but prone was simple. Standing was always the one where I practiced, and I would only fire like 30 rounds, 40 rounds on my range session. I would go to the range on Sunday mornings or Saturday mornings, and I would just shoot 30 rounds slow fire standing. That was it. And my goal was to shoot 10s. Often I would shoot 9s, and maybe I would be shooting about 95%, out of 10, it would be like 5 10s and 5 9s. That's 95%, or 95 points. And, that's kind of the goal, is to always shoot 10s, no matter how slow I was, like, because you have 1 minute to shoot a round in standing in NRA high power, right? Because you'd be like 22 rounds in 22 minutes, 2-siders or whatever. But you're on a certain pace there, but in practice, I would take forever. I would just sit there, take a shot. My goal was to practice my fundamentals and making sure I could make the perfect shot, right? Or, not the perfect shot, but the most well-taken shot, and get a 10. And so I don't do that anymore. I probably should, but I just don't really come out and practice standing like I used to. My cadence stand every weekend was only standing. And I still wasn't a good standing shooter. I was okay. I wasn't great, right? The best standing shooters are shooting like 99s, 98s, 98%. So anyway, let's go ahead and just shoot this and see how well I do. Missed 2 so far. Missed 3. Four. It's 5. Barely hit that one. So only 50%. All I can say here, straightforward stage. This is pretty easy to run through. I mean, there's not much that I've shown you here that you're going to learn from. It's just simply practice standing. My rifle is not, so that's the problem with these guns too, is they're not very well designed. At least my gun is not well designed for standing shooting. It's not balanced well, and I should probably figure that out. But it's, but for standing, it's actually pretty decent. It's just, I have no platform like on a service rifle. Service rifle, I actually wore a glove, and the delta ring on an AR you can actually use. That's where I used to shoot. Like if you see me making a V with my index finger, my middle finger, that's how I used to shoot service rifle, through the delta ring here, and that gave me perfect elevation. With this gun, I'm having to use the magazine as a platform, which is not ideal because sometimes you'll cause a jam. The amount of pressure I'm putting on that and the weight of the rifle, its balance point is a little bit more forward, so using the magazine for me is bad because it's now more front heavy. I can probably take off the bipod, and the only reason I have the bipod on here is because I use it as to rest my gun on the ground while I'm between stages here. But if I take off my bipod, maybe it'll actually balance a little bit better, so I might do that. I'll probably do that next time, but I need to figure out how to shoot this gun standing. To be honest, like I said before, it's not very well balanced. I'm out of practice. This is nothing like a service rifle. Also, just a little tip, with service rifle, we used to just, with the AR-15 M16 platform, all you need to do is just put the toe, the buttstock on the very top of your shoulder, and you're not even resting it really. It's more of just an index point as opposed to absorbing recoil. So it's almost kind of cheating back then with the AR-15 as opposed to like the M14 or the M1, because that had recoil and you needed to put shoulder behind that and in standing, otherwise you're going to have a bad day. But with the AR, you really didn't have to. So even rimfire, you don't have to. It's just a question of getting this gun suited for your body and standing. And I honestly got short arms. I don't know how it can shoot standing very comfortably with this gun. I'm probably going to end up having to use the magazine well, and we'll deal with the nuances there. Anyway, that's that. Don't want to delve too much into standing because there's a lot better shooters who can teach you standing. David Tubb, probably the master of like high power, and the guy shot silhouette for how many years and won national championships in both silhouette and high power. So go learn from those guys. Don't learn from me on standing. Anyway, let's go ahead and get on over to the next stage of fire. Next stage we're going to run through is called back and forth. It's a 120-second part time with 10 rounds. We've got 3 targets total. We have a 1/4 inch KO at 25, the 2 inch at 65, and a 2.5 inch at 100. You're going to start standing, rifle and all gear in hand, mag in, action open. On the start signal, the shooter will take a position on the top of the sawhorse and engage each target in the following manner from the strong side, your standard side, right-hand shooter. You're going to take middle target with 2 shots, near target with 1, far target with 2. So middle 2, near 1, far 2. The shooter will then transition to the support side, so switch from right-handed shooter to left or left-hand shooter to right. Shooter will then transition to support side and engage the targets in the same manner. So middle 2, near 1, far 2. 2, 1, 2. That's it. Again, straightforward stage, and let's go ahead and shoot it. Oh, I think I missed it. Gotta go transition to support side. I think I missed. Well, I timed out. I'm gonna go ahead and light off this next round. Okay, I think this caused me more problems than anything because getting this in the right position for this height, especially at this angle. If this were level ground, it'd be easier. This might actually, actually might help me. But given our range shoots at an angle, I think it's just probably better to go ahead and just shoot without that rest. Although I don't know, it's not the same amount of bounce, I guess. I'm gonna shoot this one more time. I am curious to see if I could speed this up without that bag. Probably just gets in the way. Missed. Interesting. I think I clipped it, but I don't know. I think the dope for this ammo is Rung at 100 shooting SK rifle match. And if I could find my why can't I find my scope? Faster, 97 seconds. I was shooting that much faster than I shot with the bag. Then the bag just gets in the way. Made a couple misses there. I think the key here is to keep it smooth. What I end up doing here is, to be honest, this Game Changer bag is not good. A good wedge for this sawhorse. But it works well enough. So what I tried to do is just put this mini Game Changer here, and I had my SkyPod wedged here, acting as a barricade to squeeze this, and so I'm just squeezing this bag right here. If you're going to do this on the clock, you'll probably want to have your bipod, if you have a quick release clamp, just on the middle, so it just slides. And just once you get it on, just tighten it up and then lock it down, and you should be good to go. I think this is pretty stable depending on where you're at. You should be able to do this without a second bag. I just wanted to try to game it a little bit with that second bag, but I think it makes it a little bit more complicated. Other than that, I don't know why I was missing the 100-yard target. I was holding up the 1.6, but maybe the dope changed with the temperatures or something. This SK rifle match might be shooting slower. Who knows? Anyway. That's it for that. Let's go ahead and move on to the final stage that we're going to run through today. The final stage we're running through is called one rung at a time, 120-second part time, 10 rounds. We only have one target, it's 3 inches, 78 yards. This is going to be the bonus time stage. So if you finish with time left on the clock, you get an extra 1/10 of a bonus point per second remaining. We're going to start standing, rifle on gear in hand, mag in action open. On the start signal, the shooter will engage the target in the following manner. Ladder rung 1, that's the bottom one, with 3 shots. Ladder rung 2 with 2 shots. Ladder rung 3 with 3 shots. Ladder rung 4 with 2 shots. So 3, 2, 3, 2. Pretty straightforward. Just all I gotta do is know how to transition from rung to rung, get on target, and pull the trigger. Let's go ahead and run through it, see how it goes. I cleaned that on the first run, and I finished 85.48 on the clock. I thought I was moving slow, so that means I'm doing pretty well. I made my hits, and that's the goal with any stage, is to make sure you make your hits. For this bonus time stage, again, I repeat, do not try to rush it so you have time left on the clock. Your goal should be to make your hits, because in order to make, in order to make up a miss, that's 100 seconds, because it's a tenth of a bonus point per second. So 10 seconds equals 1 point. So if a miss is 10 points, there's no way you can finish fast enough to make up a miss. So just make your hits. It's better to make your hits than worry about time on the clock, extra time on the clock. You should also always try to finish within par time. But I've noticed that ever since they did the bonus stages, or the bonus point stage with extra time on the clock on the NRL22 Courses of Fire, they made these stages relatively simple in that you should be able to finish with time to spare. And so your goal should not be to rush, right? Because you're going to finish with time. Just make sure you make solid hits. Get a stable position, make solid hits. As far as my run, I did use the Area 4119 rail changer bag. Rail changer? Rail changer. I think that's what they call it. But it's basically a thin bag that attaches to the forend. I use that for my ladder rung support or stabilization. I use the big bag, the Coltac Mega Bag. I didn't use it for the bottom rung. You shouldn't, at an up angle, we don't need a bag, because the way you're angling the rifle up, you'll have enough support with your arms that your arm support should be able enough to hold that. But if you need to use a small bag, go for it. But for the upper rungs, 2, 3, and 4, definitely a larger bag would be nice to support your firing arm against your body and or the ladder or the barricade. That's pretty much it for all 5 stages. I'm going to go ahead and start marking some stuff off, because I think I have all the targets exactly where I want them for each position or each station where we're shooting each stage. So I'm going to mark those with paint so that they're easy to find come match day. Then we'll pack up all the gear and we'll close out this range vlog. All packed up, ready to get out of here. It's right at noon. Been here a lot longer than I thought it'd be, but a couple of people came up to talk to me about the matches. So I was answering some of the questions for them, and then I also had to put up all the gear and lock up the condense container. As far as the Course of Fire, it's pretty straightforward. There's no real trickery in the stages. There's 2 prone stages, which are pretty simple, and then the standing stage is probably going to be the one that most people have problems with, so where people will drop points. Other than that, the ladder run stage is relatively simple, and then the sawhorse stage, where you have to switch between prone or support or strong side support side, that might cause people some problems. It did for me in the first run, but I think I was adding too much gear to it, and so eliminating one of the bags made it simpler. So that's probably how I'll run it. Anyway, hopefully you got some good information out of that, and if you're interested in the SoCal area to come out to one of our matches, it's going to be the August match will be August 22nd, 4th Sunday of the month. I'll put a link to the SoCal NRL22 website so that you can go see the info page and the FAQ about the matches, and then you'll have a link to the registration page whenever the registration is open. Anyway, I really want to get out of here and get something to eat, and then I'll get home, relax, and then start cutting this video. That's it for today, July 28th, here at the West End Gun Club. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vlog. Ah, crap.